Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to look at the Blackberry Passport Silver Edition. This is actually technically the last Blackberry OS device ever to be released before BlackBerry switched to Android with the BlackBerry Priv. But yeah, this one, the original Passport came out in 2014, and then the BlackBerry Classic after that, and then this is the Silver Edition, which is technically people want to say it's a different model to the BlackBerry Passport, or it's an updated version of the Passport. It has the same specs, but some of the keyboard and stuff and the back has been refined and improved a bit. So whether or not you want to consider this a separate edition or not, BlackBerry released this in 2015. So date-wise, I think it is probably the last device to come out with BlackBerry OS 10. So that makes it kind of historic in a way, and I still have this in my collection just as a BlackBerry OS device because it's interesting to look at a lot of these failed operating systems, right? And BlackBerry OS is one of those OS that's, I would say, is not failing because it was a bad operating system, just like Windows Phone wasn't a bad operating system for mobile devices. It was just because it didn't have enough apps, because basically any mobile OS that tries to compete with the iPhone, like iOS and Android, ends up failing because they need to have developer support, right? They need to have more apps. If they don't have apps, then developers just aren't going to, like, people aren't going to use it. And if people aren't going to use it, developers aren't going to develop for it. So it's kind of like a catch-22. So that makes it very hard for any mobile operating system developer to get into the market. So I would say that Windows Phone, Sailfish, BlackBerry OS, they're not bad operating systems. It's just hard to break into the market, right? Trying to be something that's not iOS and Android is just very, very difficult. Alright, so let's actually go over the specs of this device. So this was the highest end BlackBerry OS device. So they had the Classic. The Passport is the most powerful one. And it's quite unique because of its shape, right? So when it came out, a lot of people were intrigued by the shape because it is the exact size and shape of an international passport, right? So the display size is very interesting. It's 4.5-inch display, but it's square. It's not a rectangular display. It's actually perfectly square. So it's 1440 by 1440, 4.5 by 4.5, so perfectly square. 3 gigs of RAM, and which is actually pretty good for its day. So this was actually a flagship device and had flagship specs for its time. On the back is a 13 megapixel camera. Not too much to expect there because BlackBerry really aren't really well known for their cameras. They're more well known for their productivity and the keyboard. Yeah, and I ran BlackBerry OS, upgradable to 10.3.2, a Snapdragon 801 processor, and Adreno 330 GPU. Had a micro SD card slot, 32 gigs of internal storage. So yeah, those are pretty all high-end specs for the time, right? So looking at the device, you can see there's a selfie camera. The selfie camera is a 2 megapixel f2.8, so there's nothing very special there, but you have it. Then you have the indicator light. This is the 4.4 by 4.5 unique square display, which makes it a very unique looking phone even by today's standards, right? Because even by today's standards, this is a very unique looking device. Like I said, the same size as the Passport, hence the name, and kind of difficult to hold because it's kind of like a tablet, you know. Still kind of difficult to hold, but the display also makes it pretty unique as well for viewing. And then the keyboard here is also pretty unique because it's missing one row of the keys, right? So this is BlackBerry usually has like the 4-row keyboard. This is a 3-row keyboard, so it's actually missing one row, but that's because the extra row here is like a context sensitive row that you can bring up in any app and it'll basically adapt to it. And you can also just bring up like a normal numeric keyboard as well. So this keyboard has actually been refined and improved from the original BlackBerry Passport. So this being the Silver Edition, it is the last iteration of the Passport, therefore it has the most refinements and basically the BlackBerry OS swan song, right? Because it contains basically all the very last improvements for the Passport. And like I said, there's a 13 megapixel camera. Nothing really special here because it's a BlackBerry flash. You have this textured back, which is different from the original BlackBerry Passport, which had like kind of like a matte finish. This textured back is to make it easier to hold. Of course, you have the BlackBerry logo here as well. And on the side here, you have the volume rocker, and then you have this button here in the middle, which I think might be the BlackBerry Assistant button, because I know BlackBerry had the BlackBerry Assistant back then, which is supposed to be a competitor to Siri, Google Assistant, and Cortana. Oh, by the way, it's also a backlit keyboard as well. You can see the keyboard kind of lighting up here, so it is a backlit keyboard, which is nice. And then on top you have the power on button, and you have a headphone jack. So of course headphone jack was very common back then, that's what you had to have, and micro USB charging underneath, because USB-C was not common back then. And also has stereo speakers, which is nice, no mono speakers here. And yeah, the SD card is actually hidden beneath this panel right here. So if you take off, actually, yes. So if you take off this panel right here, yeah. So the SD card slot is actually underneath this panel, and so is the SIM card slot. So if you take off this top panel here, you have access to the SIM card slot and also the micro SD card slot. So that's always nice to have expandable storage. Glad the BlackBerry Passport had that. Just, this is kind of a hassle. Alright, so here we have BlackBerry OS 10. So BlackBerry OS 10, of course you can also use the keyboard to navigate as well. That's what kind of makes this keyboard kind of interesting. So of course, one of the interesting things about BlackBerry OS 10 is that you can sideload a bunch of apps into it. So technically you can also sideload Android, but it actually comes natively with support for Amazon apps from the Fire OS store. So that's pretty interesting that it has Amazon apps, right? Because Fire OS was another operating system at the time. I believe the Android Fire phone was released maybe around this time as well. So BlackBerry actually had access to both Amazon apps and BlackBerry OS apps, which helped it a bit. It didn't really help it survive in the end, right? Because it really needed the Android app support, but it definitely helped boost it, you know, at the beginning. So Amazon apps and Fire OS apps is appreciated. Of course, it's not as good as having the full Android app store, right? That's what most people want to have. But yeah, this is otherwise, it's still pretty snappy. I don't think anything has changed on this. This is actually a pretty snappy device because BlackBerry OS is actually fairly optimized. So even compared to a lot of modern Android OS phones, right, this is very, very speedy. So I actually do like BlackBerry OS. Of course, there's a focus on security as well. So if you go to the settings here, right, so this is the BlackBerry OS menu. Airplane mode, networks and connections, actually have it connected right now. Accounts, this you can set it up for the BlackBerry Hub. Quick settings, you can do that. Of course you can also pull down from the top, and you have sort, restore, defaults, rearrange. I think this actually, yeah, okay, so in the settings you can pull down from the top into something different. Data management, this is for, yeah, data settings, shortcuts, speed dial. So you can actually map shortcuts to the keyboard buttons right here. So if you press any of the keyboard buttons, it will launch a shortcut. That's really cool to have. Display, of course you can change your appearance. HDMI display mode, that's interesting. I didn't know that it had HDMI audio out. That's really cool. And retail display mode, okay. So also change your virtual keyboard. So in addition to the physical keyboard, you could also have a virtual keyboard as well. So should you not want to use the physical keyboard, in which case I would say, why are you using a BlackBerry? You do have the ability to use a virtual keyboard as well. There's BlackBerry Assistant. It's been a while since I've used this. Maybe this is the button, right? The side button to use BlackBerry Assistant. Or maybe this button doesn't do anything right now. Okay. This is definitely the volume rockers. Okay. I thought that it was this button right here actually. Okay. Device connections. BlackBerry Protect. So this is some security stuff here. It can help you if your device is stolen and protect your device data. So it's kind of like some cloud thing maybe. And then there's more security stuff here. You can set the security permissions. So there's a lot of focus on security compared to Android, which is cool. It's device password, lock device when holstered, authenticator settings. So this is for a smart card. So you can tell that this is targeting some business users now. Some smart card activation. There's lock screen configuration there. SIM card settings. Smart card settings, right? This is for business users. There's a Blackberry smart card reader, media card reader as well, NFC smart card support, encryption, right? You have device encryption, media card encryption, so big focus on security. Of course, Blackberry is traditionally a business user's device, so that's what they were focused on here. Parental controls. Okay, in case a kid for some reason wants to use a Blackberry. Diagnostics, security wipe, delete data. Maybe this is a remote. No, it's not a remote wipe, but basically the same as resetting the device, but this will securely delete the data maybe compared to a data reset. Certificates, interesting. So okay, so this is maybe very good for accessing VPN protected assets, maybe having these different certificates. LDAP server settings, so interesting. Connect to LDAP servers. Okay. SSL and TLS is for more security stuff for your websites and apps. PGP keys, not sure what that is. Development mode, of course, already. It's cool you already have this, because in Android you usually have to enable it by tapping the build number. Software logging tools, some pretty interesting detailed stuff there. So app manager, you can monitor your devices, which one's using the most data and stuff like that. Storage, CPU. It's kind of like like on your computer, right? You can tell what's using up the most storage, what's taking up the most memory, what's using up the most CPU power. So very, very cool to have though. So you just swipe back maybe. Okay, no default apps, card emulation apps, interesting. Wonder what that's about. Then this is some security stuff, just like from a MacBook would have that. Media sharing, so you can wirelessly share with DLNA. That's cool. I did not know this has DLNA ability. That's really cool. So if you have any DLNA streaming device, I do actually with Android TV and the Video Shield. Also with my AV receiver as well, with HEOS, right? Then you can access your DLNA device, and this apparently can access. This can be a DLNA sharing device. So that's really cool. And storage and access, access using USB, and of course I used. There's 32 gigs total, so that's how much storage is on here. Of course, it's expandable as well with micro SD. Location services in advanced interaction. So you got lift to wake, flip to mute, flip to save power, and hold to save awake. Okay. Payment options. Okay, so this is mobile payment methods. Oh, you need a Blackberry ID. Okay, I don't have a Blackberry ID. I was wondering if it's something similar to Android Pay or Apple Pay or something like that. So yeah, that's the settings here, and like I said, pretty snappy device even today. You can pull down from the top. You have access to all the notifications, mobile network, airplane mode, Bluetooth, alarm, blend. Blackberry blend, what is that? This brings messaging. Okay, so basically it's a way to share your notifications between your smartphone and your computer and tablet. So I'm guessing that this can actually share that notification with your laptop or something like that, so you can actually get the notifications on your computer or tablet. So that's actually pretty cool and pretty useful as well. So that's Blackberry blend. And then there's a flashlight, battery saving, device monitor, brightness, bedside mode. What's bedside mode? Is this turned into a clock or something? Oh yeah, okay, it turns into a clock. That's cool. So yeah, It can be your alarm clock by your bedside. Okay. This is the main screen. There's actually a software update. That's interesting, because I did not expect a software update using this in 2010, but maybe this is because I haven't used it for a while. But still, that's really impressive, right? I didn't even know that the update server was still in use. Okay, so I can click the notifications. It goes away like that. All right. So this screen actually is pretty modern. I mean, I'm actually surprised because this actually holds up pretty well even today. Like, it's just pretty smooth, and all of these gestures and stuff like that fits right in with today's operating systems, with the latest Android, right? Android 11, and with the latest iOS as well. So it doesn't, even though this device is 6 years old, technically the original Passport 6 years old, right? 2014. Still, the operating system, even though it's 6 years old, it still holds up pretty well today with all the gestures and stuff like that. It's not like outdated at all, which is really impressive. I mean, you have all your recently used apps right here. You have all your shortcuts. See, I can press phone, goes to phone, contacts. I don't have any contacts. This is the phone right there, the dial pad. And then I press this for the camera. Camera is nothing too special, but let's take a picture of something. Okay, I have my Zip It Z2. Let's take a picture of that. Okay. Again, this camera is not going to be anything special because it's a Blackberry, and this is from 2014 basically. Okay, so you have a selfie camera right here. This is going to be really not that good because it's like a 2 megapixel selfie camera, but you have that. Then you got video mode. I wonder if this just... Okay, now it just records video when you go to that mode. You can turn off flash. Ratio 1:1 because it's a square ratio. HDR, what? It has HDR? Interesting, okay. Oh, this for pictures, okay. I was like, if it had HDR for video, that would be really ahead of its time. Did not expect that. But yeah, HDR for photos, okay. That was actually there since the iPhone 5S, I believe. Timer, settings, ooh, okay. Video stabilization, okay, I didn't know I had that. Continuous video focus, that's nice to have. Face detection, okay. So like some more fancy stuff than I expected. Okay, anyways, this is just taking a picture. Yep, no camera shutter button. Okay. And then we go to pictures to look at the picture. What did I just take? I took this video here. Let's delete that. And this is the picture I just took. I can do play on. This actually interesting. So I actually has some kind of HDMI output. Can actually like wirelessly play it somewhere else with Miracast or something like that. That's cool. Using Story Maker. Is that an app? View album properties. Okay. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Edit. What features do I have for edit? You can put a filter on here. Cartoon sepia halftone. Okay, enhance. There's contrast, saturation. Okay, so there's some decent photo stuff here. You can do some editing and cropping. Okay. Now this is actually kind of impressive because this was like 2014, and not every phone had this amount of options back then, and HDR as well. So okay. Obviously it's not the best camera. It's a Blackberry, but it's passable. At least for the time, it was a passable camera, and this was definitely this was a flagship device. I would say most people would buy this device for the keyboard, right? Not really for the camera. That's not why you buy Blackberries. It's not for the camera. The Blackberry Hub is interesting. So if you go to Blackberry Hub, this is basically an area where they consolidate all of your accounts and social networking stuff. So you would have your email, you would have your Facebook, maybe your Instagram, a lot of your social networking accounts. Everything would be consolidated here. So it's almost like a notification email box, right? So that's kind of interesting. So Hub, Priority Hub, then all your notifications will be here. BlackBerry Messenger, which rest in peace. People did used to use that. Text messages, calls. You kind of have everything consolidated in one place here, which is kind of an interesting idea for the time. It's too bad it didn't catch on, but yeah, for the time it was actually an interesting idea. You have everything kind of in one place that you can look at it. You can pin messages, calls, so you have everything here just in one place. Of course you can filter it as well, right? Pin messages. Okay, so this is only for pins. Interesting. Yep. So of course you can filter it as well, but it was an interesting idea, the BlackBerry hub. So yep, there was that. Contacts is contacts, right? I don't have any contacts here. Calendar, standard PIM stuff right here. This is the week view. Go to date. There. And go to the month view. Yep, month view is right here. And just a standard calendar stuff. Add an appointment. Subject. Now let's use the keyboard here. The keyboard is actually really nice to use on this device, and it's still nice to use. Like, definitely, I wouldn't mind using this keyboard today. Like, if this ran Android, and I know that BlackBerry produced several Android running devices, starting with the Priv, but then the Key 1, the Key 2. So the Key 2 is actually pretty good as well. That's a phone I would still kind of use sometimes. I know a lot of people actually still use the Key 2, but the Passport keyboard is actually not bad either. A lot of people didn't like this keyboard. They preferred the classic keyboard, but the Passport keyboard really isn't that bad. It's still pretty good. So yeah, this was my little appointment right here. I can notify myself. Busy. That's my status. Okay, so there's a week view right here, day view. This looks very similar to Google Calendar and Outlook. Agenda. Yep, anyways, your standard calendar stuff. What's interesting is that, you know, now with Android and iOS, both of them have that swipe up from the bottom to go home. BlackBerry OS had this before, I think, because I don't think that Android and iOS really had that ability, because they had the home button at that time, right? So you always use the home button to go home. And they didn't have that ability until they went bezel-less and removed the home button. But with BlackBerry OS, they always had the feature to swipe up from the bottom and go home. So that's actually a pretty modern feature that a lot of phones have now that I think BlackBerry OS had before. So yeah, that's pretty cool. BlackBerry Messenger, can I update it? No. Okay. Yeah, I was like, what's the point of updating this? No one uses BlackBerry Messenger anymore. Text messaging, okay. Let's compose a message, again using the keyboard again. This is to me. Okay, well, oh well. Hey. So you see the context keyboard appears above. So this is your extra row keyboard, so you can, this is where you have the numpad and you have special characters and stuff like that. So that's why the extra key row is missing here. I guess because they want to make space and they want to have a bigger screen and just have a more context-aware keyboard, which is fine by me. Yeah, this keyboard is actually really nice to use. Alright, yeah, I have to say that this keyboard is still pretty nice to use, even today. And something about a physical keyboard with the tactile response and stuff. I think compared to my Key 2, probably the BlackBerry Key 2 is still a little bit better to use. But the Passport still has a pretty nice keyboard, pretty decent. So the difference isn't that much. Like the Key 2 keyboard is, you know, more comfortable because it's not as wide. But there's nothing wrong with the Passport keyboard, it's still pretty good. BlackBerry World was the App Store. Yeah, the BlackBerry App Store is no longer there. So there's no BlackBerry App Store anymore. So no BlackBerry World, but that was the App Store before. Amazon App Store is for the iOS apps. Docs to Go. This is, man, Docs to Go. This was like I remember this being on like Palm OS and Pocket PCs back in the day. So it's interesting this app has survived such a long time. Okay, PowerPoint doc. Again, this is like a Word document or something like that. Yep, anyways. Physical keyboard, yay. I like typing on this keyboard. It's not bad. You can edit this, of course. This is Docs to Go. It's a Word app for mobile devices. It has been for a very long time. Like I said, it's been there since the days of Palm OS. So very old app, but kind of surprised it's still there. And then you can do spreadsheets, right? Discard. Yep. And then I want to make a spreadsheet. Create doc. Oh, create XLS. Here we go. Alright, so this is your spreadsheet here. So you do all your financial calculations and financial businessy stuff here, and yeah. Anyways, definitely this phone with the screen, the size of the screen makes it pretty nice for doing productivity stuff like this, right? This actually, you get a large amount of space here for making documents and spreadsheets and stuff, so I can see why the Passport is actually pretty nice for business users. You have a lot more screen real estate. Pretty nice. And then you have, is this Blackberry Maps? Ooh, yes, the GPS is still working, so it knows that I'm in Burnaby, which is cool. So yeah, GPS works, and this Maps is pretty smooth, actually. Pretty smooth. Definitely not as laggy as I expected. Pretty nice. Yeah, I can we zoom in all the way in here. Okay, pretty nice. Anyways, that's the Blackberry Maps. Still working. Remember, what's this? It's just notes. Okay, tasks and notes. So I can make a new to-do list. Maybe this. Oh yeah, this is a task. So review Blackberry Passport. Okay, save. Oops. Okay. Yep, so that's a to-do list. Notes, add any notes here. Voice note as well. Camera. Pictures, where you saw that. Music. Okay. So it's just it's a music player. I don't have any music here, but you have it. And they have radio too. Okay, so you have an FM radio if you connect your headphones to use as an antenna. But otherwise, yeah, your standard music player here. In case people don't know that there was a Blackberry music player, but that's what it is. Videos, so you have a video player as well, which is very similar to that music player. I don't have any videos to show as well either. The Story Maker, this looks like a video editor, I think. So I guess you can use the pictures and video that you shot to create some kind of video story, like kind of like iMovie or something like that. Seems like an iMovie type of app. So that's cool that you have some kind of video editor here. Clock. So your standard, this is the bedtime mode as well. But you can also set alarm clock, world clock right here. Yeah, very nice. Stopwatch and timer. I actually like the aesthetics of this. It looks very clean. Yeah. This is the IPS display, but the blacks are pretty good, almost like an OLED display. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, that's the clock. Yeah, pretty snappy. Again, I'm surprised by how snappy this interface is, considering this device is 6 years old. Weather, okay, ooh. It does get the weather and everything. I really like this interface, actually. It's pretty nice. Very smooth, no lag. So interesting. Okay, like this looks like an app that you would actually use today, right? So it's very modern looking. I really like that. Very modern looking apps. A lot of the apps from back then, especially the early Android apps, I'm talking about like 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, even 4.0 Jelly Bean, and Lollipop. Like a lot of those apps look really outdated, but not the BlackBerry OS apps. They look pretty modern actually, and the interface actually looks pretty modern too. Weather, and then you have Facebook, of course. Right, Facebook. Yeah, I'm not going to log into my Facebook. Twitter as well. Pretty modern looking Twitter app as well. So everything's fairly modern looking. Remember the old style Facebook like logo and Twitter logo? Yeah, Foursquare. Now that's a blast from the past. Who uses Foursquare anymore, right? That's there. LinkedIn. That's here. People still use LinkedIn. Right. Nice. A lot of these apps are actually pretty nice. I mean, obviously BlackBerry apps are not made anymore, but the interface is really modern looking, so it's actually pretty cool. So this is the calculator, right? I always try to test the calculator. Okay, you have to. It's not one of those where you can keep pressing it, huh? And then I can swipe left. I have function, log, and then I have more scientific stuff right here. Okay, that's pretty cool. You have a tip calculator as well. That's actually pretty useful. That's something that a lot of calculator apps don't even give you, right? So you have this all extra stuff right off the bat with the calculator app. So that's cool. The built-in calculator app has a tip calculator built in and a converter built in. You don't even need to download those separately. They just come with the app. That's cool. Yep. Okay, so if I want to convert stuff, there it is. There it is. Very, very smooth too. Nice. So that's the BlackBerry calculator, which is also a converter. Evernote. Don't remember the last time I ever used Evernote, but you have a native app for Evernote as well. File manager, right? Ooh, has a file manager, right? How long did iOS take to have a file manager? I think it took quite a few years for them to have a file manager. But BlackBerry OS has one built in, which is nice. So yeah, there's a file manager here, which is always nice to have. Natively, Adobe Reader for reading PDFs, which is very useful for business users, right? And this is actually pretty good PDF here. It's like rich, right? It's not like a gimped PDF reader at all. It looks like it's pretty rich because it has all those logos and stuff like that, so you get all the images and stuff like that. So that's cool. It's not like a gimped PDF reader. PDF readers from back then would kind of be gimped, but not this one. Okay. And YouTube app. So I wonder if it still connects to the modern YouTube and plays. Ooh, I think it might. I think this, yeah, this is cool. Okay. Yeah, let's look at this. Whoa.
They look nice.
Yeah.
These stereo speakers.
On my screen, that's...
What? Go ahead.
I nailed you on my screen. But that's
Yeah,
nope,
that's
I
what
don't
it
get
looked
any
like
Westgate
on
mode.
mine, but I was 5 feet in front of you.
good.
Okay. So, oh, this is on the browser. Okay. Interesting. So this actually just opens the browser. It's not a separate app. But yeah, this is working pretty well. I'm very surprised that this phone and its apps work really well today, right? So you can definitely still use this phone today, even though that there's no App Store isn't working anymore. A lot of these apps don't even, like the BlackBerry Messenger, right? They're not really working, but the ones that do work actually work pretty well. Password Keeper. This is for storing your passwords. Okay, it's kind of like 1Password. If anyone has used that to store their passwords, this is very useful for business users because a lot of times you want to keep your passwords very secure. and you don't have to remember them, right? Because secure passwords are usually ones that you don't want to remember. They're very complicated. So having password keeper is nice. One vault location to store all your passwords. Box, man, it's been a while since I've used Box, but it's basically like very similar to Dropbox, right? Different company, but very similar. And then there's Dropbox. So there it is. There's Dropbox as well. Let's kill that. Smart tags. This is the NFC. You can scan a barcode, tap an NFC tag, or create a new tag. Interesting. So you can create an NFC tag or something like that. Web tags, smart triggers. I've never created one of these tags before, so I don't know. But this seems like a cool, interesting feature. Oops. Seems like a cool, interesting feature to have a tag creator just kind of built in like that. Compass. Okay, so it's a compass. We have it. Okay. Setup, tutorials, help, assistant. Okay, so this is Blackberry Assistant. What's the weather like tomorrow?
Searching the internet for what's the weather like tomorrow.
Okay, it's not too smart then. It has to search the internet for everything. Okay. And it uses Bing for search. Okay. So it's not too smart. Like, it doesn't give you that right off the bat. It has to do a Google search for it. But it works, I guess. Right? Google searching for the weather does work. It's just you could do it way better with Google Assistant or Siri or Alexa. But Blackberry Assistant, yeah, it's there. That's all I'm gonna say. That it's an assistant. It's there to use it. It's not going to be as good as other assistants, but it does its job, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And browser, okay. Finally, this is the Blackberry browser. You can go to different tabs like this. Open new tab. Let's do PC News. This is what I usually go to. Alright, so yeah, I went to NBC News, and I can use the keyboard to scroll like this. Of course, there's some security warnings because this browser is not an up-to-date browser, but I think at least I can actually view the website, so that's good. Okay, so there are some warnings, but I can still view the website, which is good. And actually, I have to say, even though some people don't like the fact that the Passport has such a big display and it's so wide, but it makes it really comfortable to read. Like articles like this, it's just a lot more comfortable to read because it's that much wider, right? So, and because it's just a 1:1 aspect ratio, you get a good amount of vertical space and a good amount of horizontal space. So you can fit a lot of text in here. And reading web pages and articles on this device is really nice. Especially when you can use the keyboard for scrolling, because you're not blocking any part of the display with your finger or anything. So I think this device is really nice for reading stuff like this. I'm not sure why the accelerometer is not working. I think this used to have an accelerometer, or it did work before, where I can tilt the display like this and I can use the keyboard on the side to scroll through the pages, and that was also nice. But I'm not sure why it's not working right now. But anyways, yeah, I would say this device is really nice for looking at articles and web pages and stuff like that. There's a large amount of screen real estate, and it has a perfect amount of vertical screen estate and horizontal screen estate, and you're not blocking any of the pages when you scroll. So, and it's just really smooth. I mean, you're talking about a device this is from 2015, with actually it came from 2014 originally. And this is really, really smooth, right? Running on a modern web page. So yeah, this is pretty good, and you can do private browsing as well. So incognito browsing, and you can new tab, and this has all your recently opened tabs right here. You can go to Engadget. Yep, there we go. Alright, so it loads very fast. You have all the pictures. I don't think anything looks really wrong or anything. So this browser is pretty nice, because a lot of the older browsers I used on older phones, they don't even work, or everything looks kind of messed up. But the BlackBerry browser, the BlackBerry OS X browser, yeah, everything renders just fine. on a modern website. So that's cool. Man, I wish the accelerometer worked, but because usually when I used the Passport before, you know, I would use it like this and just scroll the web pages like that, which is also really nice. But yeah, it's too bad. This is still fine though, just scrolling it like this. And man, this is actually very, very comfortable to read. So now that I do a lot of reading on my smartphone, on the Pixel 4a and the iPhone 11 Pro, which are my main smartphones, sometimes I do kind of don't really like the fact that the screen can be so narrow sometimes when I'm scrolling and my finger is like blocking the whole screen, because it is the whole screen, it's a bezel list, right? So sometimes that does kind of bother me, and you get fingerprints on your screen and everything. This kind of avoids all of that, so that's really nice. So yeah, I would say the Blackberry Passport, pretty interesting device. Even in 2020, I would not use it though, because this is an outdated operating system, obviously. The Key 2 is pretty good. I probably use the Key 2, but even that's kind of getting old. This device though, technically it's been outdated, but it doesn't feel like it's outdated. It still feels pretty snappy. And as you can see, the browser and everything, like the YouTube and everything, plays just fine. So technically you can use this device in 2020, just I probably wouldn't. But it is nice to have a device of this size and having this unique aspect ratio that makes it really good for productivity, like editing spreadsheets and Word documents and reading web pages. Like that kind of stuff is really nice on this kind of device. And actually, if you do want to have a device like this, but with more modern specs, in a modern operating system, I would look at the Unihertz Titan. The Unihertz Titan is a device that kind of inspired by the Passport form factor. So it's very similar. It has kind of the big squarish display, and it has a physical keyboard. It's also water resistant, I believe. I don't think that this is, but the Unihertz Titan is you know, tested like IP68 or whatever. It's pretty rugged as well, and that runs Android, which is of course you can get all your modern apps on that one. So I think if you do like the Passport and you're looking for kind of a more modern device that you can use your modern apps on, the Unihertz Titan is a good way to go. But for me, I like to keep the Passport in my collection just because it is the last kind of BlackBerry OS device, or the most powerful BlackBerry OS device, and it's very nice to see BlackBerry OS. Just not a lot of people remember this operating system anymore, and it's really nice to use it. Again, just like Windows Phone and Sailfish, they're not bad operating systems. It's just they can't compete with iOS and Android. That's why they failed, right? They don't have the ecosystem. If you don't have the ecosystem, you can't compete no matter how good your operating system UI is, right? I mean, the fact that this UI is still this smooth years later is a testament to the fact that BlackBerry OS 10 wasn't a bad operating system at all, right? It's just, yeah, no one can compete with the juggernauts. So anyways, guys, very, very interesting operating system and device. The display, even though it's a big one to fit into your pocket or whatever, also very nice to read web pages and documents and everything on. So anyways, guys, that's it. Yeah, that's how you turn it off, and there we go. That's the Blackberry Passport Silver Edition, guys, from 2015. So as always, leave your comments in the comment section below and feedback, and thanks for watching.